All right, so this is how to make glass that is stretchy. So start off with the shape of the glass that you want to create. So if you want the ripply kind of effect, I start off with a disc. You could use a plane, but the ripples are not the same. And then on the disc options in the attribute editor, there it is. You want to choose the kind that it would be. So I believe caps is the correct one. And then you just add enough sides here, and you can type in a number, I think. Yep. So if you need more, you can go that way. Keep it at, let's say, 20, and you can always add more. Same thing with the subdivisions. Let's say 4 is a good number. All right. So I'm going to make this bigger. All right. So there's my sheet of glass. And then I'm going to grab the vertices and scale them together. I'll also include these two. And then just move that over. And what that does is it flattens out that side. I'm just going to do that to all the sides. So that way it'll look like a flat piece of glass. Yeah. And then I can even it out, maybe just scoot that over a little bit, and this up a little bit. Cool. And then I could add more subdivisions. So if I go to my Insert Edge Loop tool, I could insert extra divisions. And what I'm doing here is just kind of filling in those spaces. Right. So just so you can see, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to turn on my wireframe here so I can see the wire on both. And then Mesh Smooth. And that would smooth it out more. And keep border on. Yep. And then I would just go to my vertices again. Or you can use edges, that works too. Just gonna make that a little bit bigger so I can see. And then flatten this. Flatten that. Because you want this to be crisp around the edge. There you go. So see the two different shapes there. You only need one of these, but this one is going to have more divisions, so it'll have more deformation. This one has less divisions, so it'll be, less deformable. So now I'm going to make my cube. And if you have an item you want to actually hit it, you animate the item hitting it, and then this guy would just get parented to it. So for instance, let's say that I wanted this cylinder I guess this is the this is like our assignment here, right? So ignore the fact that this is on there. So I'm gonna just parent this together. This is like our little stick animation guy. So after I freeze transform both of these items, now that one will rotate correctly. So pretend this is a stick. So I'm going to animate the stick animation thing coming in. So there, I want it to slide through here, hang out for a few frames, and then come back. So There it goes, and there it goes. Okay, so I'm not worried about the bottom of the stick yet. I'm just worried about, what the top is doing. So now I'm going to create a shape that's going to collide with it. And typically I'll make it just a little bit bigger. There you go. I can adjust the position later as well. Okay. All right, so I'm going to parent it to this. So I just grab that and hit parent. So now that'll move with it. Okay. So now I need to make this end cloth. So I go to my FX menu, I go to end cloth and create end cloth. Okay, so that's end cloth now. So if I hit play, it'll just rewind it first and hit play, it'll just fall down. You have to make sure that your playback speed is set to play every frame. Either one of these works, but it has to be play every frame. Once that's on, then I'm going to go to the edge here and then go to end constraint and say transform. And this is what's going to hold it in place so that it doesn't fall down. There we go. Okay. The one I show in class, I had to go to my nucleus over here and turn gravity off, because what was happening is the center was like drooping down. So I turned the gravity off and the center doesn't droop anymore. Okay, so now I need to get this to collide with that. So that I'm going to go to end cloth, create passive collider. So now you can see the results of that. Now you're seeing also, let me pause it when it does it, this, how pointy that is, because that center cube is basically hitting just that center point, or very little points around it. So sometimes it helps to maybe move it a little bit out of the way. So if I just take this, I may snap on still somehow. Snap, screen move. So if I just move it up just a hair, I'm still getting it there. If I move it down a little bit, I don't think down is going to be the issue. And let's see. Nope. I may need to just move the entire thing. So if I just grab this whole thing and delete, I'll translate Y. All right. So no matter what, I'm I'm getting that that pinch there. Now eventually I can hit 3 on this, and that helps smooth it out a little bit. Right. Or I can just set this one up too and just see, maybe this one will give me different results. So let me hide this one. I'm going to just grab all this stuff and just Control H to hide it. And scoot this one in the path. So I'll make this end cloth, grab the edge, make it a transform constraint. I don't need to do the gravity thing again because it'll automatically have gravity off because they use the same nucleus, so they're sharing that same thing. Now, right, so now we're getting better, squishier results. All right, and size it now just a little bit more. There we go. Now, if I want to affect how much it pulls out, I need to affect the properties of this, because what's happening is it's just moving and it's not actually like grabbing onto it, it's just like letting it go. So if I grab that block, I can take the stickiness up of it. And this is something you just have to play with to get the right number. So at 0.558, let's see what it does. That's pretty good. You'll also see that that also helped correct the pointiness of it a little bit. That seems pretty good there. If I want it to be a little bit more where is it? Dynamic properties. Oops, not the wrong thing. Grab that. Go to dynamic properties. I can play with stuff like the stretch resistance. So if I set this to, let's say, 10 or even 5. Now I'll get a different kind of behavior. The glass will respond differently to that. If I rewind this again, I set this to, let's say, let's go extreme with this 1 and 1. I see how I get this kind of like really garbly kind of mess. Okay, so once I find a good value that I'm happy with and I'm like, all right, this is working, then what I want to do is I can take the glass and then just extrude it and just give it some thickness. So 0.1, 0.2. Something's going on there. Let's take that thickness off and just pull with the blue arrow. Sometimes that thickness works really well, and sometimes it does stuff like that. Cool. So now we have this. Okay, now to give it the glassy look, I'm going to assign an Arnold material to it. So standard surface. I'll just do this manually, so it doesn't need any color information. Reflection, I'll pull the roughness down a bit. Under transmission, I need to crank that up so that it is glassy. And I'll turn Arnold on after I create a sky dome light. All right, let me hit play until it goes through. Oops, I rewind it. Now, once you're using dynamics type stuff, you can't just click and drag in the timeline anymore. So that's why you really want to animate this, the way you want that to be. Now, typically, I don't know why it seems to be working fine here. Typically, you have to grab the surface. When you want something to be transparent, go to the output cloth or the shape of it, and then go to the Arnold tab and choose opaque off. Well, it's definitely looking better. There we go. So we do have to turn that off. And then now we'll have a sheet of glass. And then if we wanted to create kind of like an infinite background type thing, if I make a plane, make it huge, I'm going to assign a new material to it. This will be a Arnold shadow matte, AI shadow matte. I'll create a light inside the scene. Right, let's see, intensity is 100. And so now I'm getting my glass and I'm getting the shadow on the ground. And no matter where I rotate, I'll get that shadow on the ground. If I want to tint it, I can tint either the light here, which will give it a slight tint. Oops, that's a sky dome. Well, the sky dome will tint everything. The light will just give us like a splash. Is the light even affecting it? Let's go. It's not updating, so I'm going to close that and reopen Arnold. That light should be affecting something. Pointed at it. All right, let's stop that, reload it, play it, close it. All right, let me turn off the sky dome. Yeah, see that light isn't, for some reason, isn't doing anything. Let's delete the light, because it's being stupid. And let's add another area light. There we go. All right, so now let's turn our sky dome back on. All right, so now we have like that tint of blue that we did not have a second ago. Now the other thing you can do is, let's say that I want to change the color of the sky, but I don't want to change the color of the rendering kind of thing. If I tell it it's not visible in the camera, you'll see that the background still stays black. I've kind of lost this. But if I select the camera here, view select camera, I can come down to environment and choose the background color. And I may need to, again, close that and reopen it. I'm in my perspective. That should be playing nicely. Let me create a new camera. Something Maya's not happy today. All right, here's my new camera. New color will be green, so it's obviously green. Switch the camera in here. Yep. Let's create an image plane. Let's see. All right, I'm just going to drop in a picture. Doesn't matter what now. So I'm doing what I said not to do, which is going outside of my folder. All right, so that's working. All right, well, for whatever reason, that color doesn't seem to want to play nicely today. So if anything, I can go into Photoshop, pick a color, save it as an image, and bring it in, and then just say fit to resolution gate. There's my resolution gate right there. Oh, sorry, fill. There we go. So if this were a solid color, like red, green, or blue, or white, or whatever, it would just pop in there. I'll go back to my camera and just see. If if I right click and if I go to edit, delete by type image planes, or delete all by type image planes, I don't know why it's an all by type, or whatever. Nope, it just doesn't want to read that background color. That's odd. There's always workarounds. So if I don't like that, I could always create my own sphere that's bigger than this. And it has a surface shader on it. In this case, the surface shader, let's say, is green. Let's close that again, reopen that. I don't need that. Not playing nice at all. No. That's weird. Delete that camera, so I don't need it. All right, so you can just stick to the plane, leave this camera visibility on. And if you want to give this a tint or lighten it or whatever, obviously lighten that. Now, just so you can see too, like the top of this is bringing in an alpha channel. So if I do turn off that camera, okay, it looks exactly the same as far as the rendering goes. That's not changing what this looks like. It just changes that background, but it creates a complete alpha channel here. So I could then take this rendering into After Effects, and then when it comes in, it'll say, you have an alpha channel. Do you want to use it? And I would say yes, pre-multiply it, and then I could put it over whatever layer I want. So if I want blue, yellow, green, or whatever, and it would have the shadow on top of that. All right. Cool. All right, so once I have this and I'm happy with it, then what I want to do is take this and go to Encache. So let's pretend that I'm perfectly happy with the exact way it turned out. I would go to Encache, create new Encache for an N object. And what this is going to do is it's going to write out what this looks like at every frame. Okay, so I don't want to, I'm not changing anything after this. This is like, I've already done all my settings here. I'm happy with the way this is looking. You have to cache it out, especially if you do motion blur, because then the motion blur would update. There we go. Okay, so now that we've cached it, now I can click and drag. Okay, so then what I would do is I would take this piece and I would hide it. So just Control H or H, and then I would go through and animate that bar. So as this comes in like this, then I could say, okay, well, I'm going to set some keyframes on the bar. Now, if you get to the point where this thing is going in so far that the bar is, being affected, on mine you really shouldn't, but just in case you were, you could create another shape there that would collide with it for the bars. There you go. So you can see how the bar is now colliding with that. And then the same thing as it goes back, the bar would obviously start to droop down. Right. We can give that a little bit of life too, just kind of as it's in there, it's kind of bouncing around some. There we go. Sweet. So hope that helps. I'll save this because it's awesome.